Hey everybody, if you've been following lately, then you know that we are waiting on an amazing miracle of God, that He is planning on restoring my life and my finances and my health and all these incredible things after just horrible one tragedy after another for the last 11 years. And that the sign is supposed to be the restoration of my right hand, and that all of this was supposed to happen yesterday. So today we are talking about disappointment and ultimately how in the midst of terrible disappointment and confusion that God is still who He is. That the Bible is still an accurate historical record archaeologically and, with the historicity of everything that's recorded in the Old and New Testament. We're talking about the gospel records from eyewitnesses talking about Jesus, his life, death, and resurrection. I mean, all of these things, which would normally be the first thing to doubt when you think that God is going to give you something and you're so desperate for it and you're praying and you're asking and you even believe that he's agreed to give it to you, and then the time comes and it doesn't happen. The first thing that we tend to say is, well, then there is no God, or Christianity is false, or God lied, and so there's no such thing. And that's not at all true. What we should look at first is ourselves. And in this particular case, I overlooked something important that I don't want you to overlook. And that was that while I was pursuing the promise and while I was desperate for God to come through and give me breakthrough, I sacrificed our relationship. All of the time I spent in the Word, all the time I spent making these videos, all of the time that I sought Him in prayer and in the Word, it wasn't so that I could know Him better or love Him more or have more of His heart. It was so that I could do everything right so that the promise would come without being delayed or without losing it or without anything else. And I didn't realize. And then when I did, it's not like I knew what to do. I mean, honestly, I was scared and I'm so desperate for this to take place because my life is totally falling apart. And I was like, well, what can I do to focus more on you? And today, when this should have taken place and didn't, and I was crushed by disappointment, he said to me that I have delayed your promise and the fulfillment of the things that I have said by 7 days because your reliances have shifted and your focus and allegiance has shifted to worshiping the promise and not me. And so he's giving me time to turn that around, because if God gives you a great promise and a great gift, it is never to replace God in your life. It is never to supersede your great love and submission to him or the humility of accepting his timing and his direction in your life. And so I encourage you that when you're stuck in disappointment or when something hasn't happened the way you hoped, turn your eyes to the perfect, infallible God and creator of the universe who loves you more than you can imagine. Submit to his will and try to seek what he's saying to you in the